Grace, peace, and love to you from Jesus Christ our Lord and God, our Father, Yahweh. So, today is March 23rd, 2019. It's a couple days after spring has begun. The moon is no longer completely full. And I've been doing some thinking. This is entitled Beast Training. So what it's talking about is preparing for and training for when the mark of the beast is implemented, possibly worldwide now. There's talk saying it's already in China, and good evidence saying that like the biometrics identification such as facial recognition, the thumbprint scanning, and even RFID chips, radio frequency identification chips, which could possibly lower your bank account based on who you hang out with using social ratings, will be implemented and already are implemented. So there's research on that. You know, you've heard about the RFID chips, or you just heard about them right now, you know, microchipping the population for the sake of control. So what I'm doing, I'm starting today, basically. The initial time date is tomorrow, so today's like a preparation, further preparation for what I'm calling beast training. Now, speaking in tongues with other people can actually help, like code words. So I'm calling it beast training. People won't know it's training for the mark of the beast. They might, but that's just what I'm calling it. They could think we're working out. You know, multiple things are going on there. Not saying we're not going to work out. But basically it's like a 2-week adventure to live without buying, selling, or trading, just focusing on the gospel and evangelism. So like if you were gonna live in the times where the mark of the beast sits, and some said it already hit with Nero, but there's evidence saying that it's going to be re-implemented in a worldwide status. So yeah, I mean basically it's evangelism for 2 weeks in survival. You got to be as wise as serpents and as innocent as lambs. Now, I have a poster here that I made talking about pastoral and evangelism. While money is here and existent, we should use it as a defense and to make friends. Biblically, those are the 2 reasons for money that I've come across. You know, like you'd want to make a fortress to protect your family, send them out to a school, college, homeschooling, aftercare programs, stuff like that, to prepare them for the world, for, you know, the sake of prudence or growth and life and mirth, you know. But beast training, you know, we do things like walking into department stores and browsing the prices so you can get like a gauge and value on what the like trade is, because we won't really be able to trade like stocks or anything like that. I'm working as a financial advisor right now for like stock trading, bonds, and things like that. But what I'm getting at is like you can walk into a department store and see the prices there, say like 2 for $1 for a pack of rags. Rags are important. Now, cigarettes on the street go for anywhere from like 25 cents to $1. If someone ends up giving you a cigarette or you ask for one, you might be able to trade one for a rag. Of course, in the mark of the beast time, someone hanging out with your social rating like that for a moment might get their social rating shot down by onlooking bystanders or even the government surveillance. So there's a trade there. But for the people who do accept the mark of the beast, it's wrath for them. It's God's wrath that rests upon them. And a lot of people have not prepared to live homeless, prepared to live without money, prepared to live in faith in God to take care of them. Elijah, or maybe Elias, one of the prophets, I should really get more in depth with this, but I believe it was Elias or Elijah. I believe it was Elijah, actually, who was reincarnated into John the Baptist. I believe that, no, truly, from the Bible, it says that he was fed, this prophet. I'm not sure if it's Elijah, but I believe it is. This prophet was fed by birds. Birds brought him food. they brought him bread. And for a while, he had eaten the bread, and he had hoped that the birds would bring him meat as well, not just bread. And I'm not sure if he got the meat or bread, but eventually it like dried up. The birds weren't coming to give him food, even though he was a prophet and man of God. So that was God giving him a sign as to move on from that area. I mean, we've got to be able to like ask people for food and have fellowship with them, tell them about Jesus, talk to their children, talk to their family, like be a good neighbor, you know, even if you're not able to provide monetary funds. But you know, we have certain inalienable rights given to us by our Creator. One of them is to eat food. We have the right to eat food. We have the right to live. You know, we have the right to worship in the way that we see fit. So, especially in America, we have those rights. You can go to a church and they will generally feed you. Church members, even neighbor, someone out on the random street might give you money, and you can ask them like, listen, I appreciate this very much, but I'm kind of hungry. Would you be able to get me something to eat? They might give you more money, but I mean, in the mark of the beast times, we may not be able to use that because it could be radio frequency straight up to your bank account, which we will probably choose not to partake in, or we will and suffer the wrath of God. So money is the root. The love of money is the root of all evil. And you can see the signs of the times. People have become lovers of money and lovers of themselves. A lot of people just walk straight past you. Now, the word of the Lord came to me last Wednesday night. I was lying by the church in a forest, and I was actually kind of teary. But I asked God to tell me a story, and He started to speak to me in a parable. And during the parable, I asked, can I act in the story? And I did. And He continued the parable. So here it is. A boy was walking alone in the woods. And here was my acting part afterwards. And he came to his father's house. And he fell down crying. My acting part. And he found a snail. And he asked the snail, do you have a father? And they both said, my father is Yahweh. So the snail said to him, I will walk with you for a time. And the boy walked with the snail. And during this time, someone started yelling something, and it was, Ethan, why are you running? Ethan, why are you running? Ethan, Ethan, why are you running? And it's just what someone was yelling at the church during this parable. I told my friend Ethan about this because I thought it would be of interest to him. But after that happened, I continued. I'm like, Dad, will you keep telling me the story? And it had begun to rain at this point. So he said to me, and it began to rain. And I started to think, well, it's raining here, and he just told me rain. That makes sense in the story. So the boy thought to himself, I know, I'll go back to my father's house and sleep under the awning. And then after some time, walking his own way, the boy returned to his father's house. And when I got there, I got up and I walked to the awning, and there was like one car in the parking lot. And I thought, well, I'm going to share this parable with whoever's in the parking lot. And forgive my ums. When he came out of the building, I said, a boy was walking alone in the... I said, like, hey, and he was like, He came out of the church, and he just started walking towards his car after that, like, over at Heritage Baptist Church in Lynchburg, Virginia. So I said, a boy was walking alone in the woods, and he came to his father's house. And then he left and came back for some time, a little time later. And he saw a stranger. And I gave him some time to respond or say anything to me. He just kept walking, like straight out of the church, just walked right past me while I have like my gear set up, like obviously homeless, could have been in need of something. And I said, and the stranger just kept walking by. And the stranger just walked on by, is what I said. So after that, I got like situated for bed, got some water, stuff like that, and I said, Dad, can you continue the story? He said, and the boy went to sleep under the awning. And when he woke up the next morning, the trees gave light. And that was the end of the parable. So sometime between there and the next morning, I had asked for an interpretation of the parable. God said, it's you, or the Lord. It was either Jesus or God, or if there is any type of disbelief in there, some spirit within me. Even you could think my own mind on a very low level of existence, because there are certain layers of the conscious and subconscious mind. If you just poke into like who you are, you'll see that we are very multifaceted beings. You know, someone will say multiple personalities. I say more like different aspects of who I am. You know, I have one personality, which is kind of like my soul, and that personality is Richard. However, I have different characters and roles that I can play. So with beast training here, like, part of the things is like being careful, watching the way that you present yourself in public, because that social rating type thing, like crossing the street when you're supposed to, not like jaywalking and things like that, because if you catch a fine for that, how are you going to pay? You know, and then there are taxes. Like, people might give you money, that'll help you pay taxes or tolls or something like that, if they'll even allow us to pay, if cash money will still be in existence. So there's also like price gauging, so that you know like the value of things, if someone is actually willing to barter with you or something like that, or you can give someone and just like get a gauge on like how they might feel like treating you. I mean, obviously you're probably going to be intaking more than you give out in society, but that actually fulfills the righteousness of God, because people are helping someone less fortunate in their view. You know, I kind of have everything because I am living by faith in God, and I actually have a laptop right now. I don't need it. I took some time and I just walked around just wearing clothes and nothing but that, and that was great. It was like being a little kid again. And it was in the middle of the night. Someone would have robbed me. They wouldn't have been that happy. I had a candy bar on me. They're like, hey man, you can have my candy bar, but I wish I had some money to give you so you don't have to rob someone else. Good to meet you, I'm Richard. But you know, then there's like code words and stuff like that, speaking in tongues, like agasu kundet. I'm going to interpret that for you right now. It's, I give you power to do it, or I guess you can do it, or I give you power. Like you can say agasu kundet laare, I give you power over demons. That would actually be demons within, laare, and then laare would be like the demons. So yeah, like being able to speak in code, like if your pastor comes up to you, and I'm gonna cut this short because we got about a minute left, but if like your pastor comes up to you and you're in a group of beast people who have taken the mark, you can just be like, yo, this is P-Man, and they don't have to know he's a pastor or a Christian, but we're probably gonna talk to you about Jesus. And you know, a lot of us may be taken out by like gun, which is actually pretty merciful, considering they could torture us for a long time for being Christians. You know, some are beheaded, some are ripped apart by horses. You know, history shows you the brutal things that have been done to people. So, grace, peace, and love to you from Jesus Christ our Lord. I just pray that thy will be done, Father. Amen.